Yeah, ho, Prof here, and we've got a video for you guys. I went out to the car and got my toolbox, which had flipped itself over somehow and dumped all of its contents out. So we've got a whole bunch of things. This is what we needed out of it. But all of these guys broke open. I just dropped one. I think I just dropped one. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, well, there's those, my work ones of the DeWalt acetate demolition drivers. Here's what I was talking about. The look at that thing. That, you'll know, is basically a freaking combination. Actually, that's more because it doesn't have like the cutout here for turning bolts and nuts. This is more of like a linesman needle nose. Bit overkill, if you ask me. Thing's beefy, that's for sure. They got multiple colors of tape. My color, previous company is a workforce color. Got these stick-on tie-downs, those come in super handy. Bunch of tie wraps. Oh, there's that one I dropped. Remember I said I dropped one? iFixit kit, that's the 1/4 inch. Got the 4mm in my bag. But, yeah, we got this for comparison. The reason being is this is... That one's way heavier, too. So, if you guys watched the recent unboxing and kind of intro to the Milwaukee subcompact, it's not fuel, they're just Milwaukee M12 subcompact. Milwaukee finally used the brushless motors to, and I know some of you have claimed other people have done this. Please show me other brands. If you believe that other brands have made a smaller tool when going to brushless, not just most brands, at a minimum are making same size tool more powerful, or are making more powerful and bigger. Maybe lighter weight because of how the brushless motor works, but you know, bigger still. The whole thing about like being able to be more powerful in the same size, or actually like more power efficient, is another thing. I don't know of a single tool brand that has used that to actually make the tool smaller prior to, you know, the Milwaukee M12 subcompact. Some of you were saying DeWalt M12 or DeWalt 12-volt tools. Those are all brushed. They're not even brushless. It could be an 18, 20, or 20-volt tool as well, or 22 for the Chinese brands that do that. Sorry, finishing up my green tea. Even on those bigger tools, they generally don't use brushless to make the tool more compact. Like I said, maybe lighter, but definitely not more compact. Or, you know, often it is same power or more power. It's not same power, smaller size. It is same size, more power. Or even big, slightly bigger size, way more power, sort of thing. What we're taking a look at here, this is the Shockwave Impact Duty bits that came with that set. Because for, I think it was $160 for the kit. And you can see the bag here, still haven't put it away. That's the bag. That's the bag from the kit of the subcompact. I do not need another Milwaukee charger, but hey, we've got one. Maybe I'll chuck that one out in the garage. This came with it for $160. I think some places were selling it for $150 without the bits. Home Depot, though, where I normally go, or where I normally pick up my Milwaukee, because that's what's around here, that Ace Harbor kind of does. That's where my Packouts came from, you know. But for the most part, you know, some of the tool brands that were like on East Coast, I straight up don't have access, or not tool brands, hardware companies, power tool companies, I don't have access to. So here you go. New case designed for use with Packout modular storage system. I don't get how that works. Maybe this is the shape of, you know, those buckets that you pull out on the Packouts. So you pull the bucket out and then you put this in there. Maybe that's how it is. Otherwise, I don't know how this fits in the Packout. So if you guys want to share that, I'd appreciate it. But otherwise, this is just their standard Shockwave Impact Duty set, 45-piece set. Seems to actually be like a relatively useful set, to be truthful. You know, we'll take a peek at it. But my big thing here is not actually the bits. We've been over Milwaukee bits plenty of times before. My favorite are actually the recalled Matrix Carbide line. These actually predate the Shockwave Impact Duty. The Shockwave Impact Duty were, I guess, lessons learned about selling a very hard, tough tool for doing impacting. Not a great choice. One thing I will say, I shouldn't say one thing, I keep saying that a lot, but let's take a look inside and then we can go, oh, you're seeing one of the downsides already. See how those are loose? And that guy's come loose. Yeah, well, I'll prove a point. Those are kind of hanging out there. It does, however, these are magnetic nut drivers. They have the two most common sizes you'll need, 1/4 inch and 5/16. They actually give you a really nice 6-inch extension. Most kits and most places cheap out and only give you like this guy, or even this is like a 2 3/4 inch. They might get you a 3-inch, right? We got Phillips 1, 2, 3. We got I shouldn't even say 1, 2, 3. It's 1, 2, 2. That's a drywall bit. So it's Phillips 2 but skinny. 3. And then we have square 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. We got some Torx T10, 15, 20. We got a whack ton of 25s. As you should, because that's like the most common size. We got a T27, a T30, or T30, yep, T30 and a T40. Got 2 different flatheads. That's kind of nice. All these insert bits are nice to see. A lot of these kits, if they get you the insert bits, they will not do what they're doing back here, and then also get you some what I would call the power bits, which are the ones that can go right in your impact without needing an adapter like that. The big thing here, though, is if you notice, this kit, look at this, I'm taking out a bit for those of you that have had the Milwaukee sets before. Yeah, you don't just do that. You don't. Here, even on the big ones, look at that. Oh, they do give you a 1/4 inch to 3/8 socket adapter. Like, I would actually argue that this set is a very good beginner set. These are double-ended. If you're using a drill, it'll probably work fine. I know a lot of impacts don't necessarily agree with these. I do have some double-ended Torx in my kit. I use those all the time. They're from Irwin. You know, this is a Phillips flathead. This is like the classic one that people would only have one of because it came with their drill driver, you know, like their combination drill driver, and it would like snap into the bottom above your NiCad battery. No, I'm just gonna say no. Also, if you're using a flat, personally, I try to avoid using power tools when using flat. It's just way too easy to strip it out, smash it in your hand, cut yourself. I'm just going to use a hand tool rather than a power tool for those. Because especially in like a modern power tool, they got way more torque, way more power than those screws often can handle. So yeah, for those of you that know how Milwaukee used to do it before this, it's just I wanted to get this out of the car here. You know, this is Shockwave Impact Duty as well. Now, This was a Black Friday deal with 2 of these sets. There were 2 of these. And I exactly split up as much as I could the 2 of them. Now, as you can see, it's way wider and it's not as tall. Can't fix that 6-inch bit over there. We do have, however, this 3-inch guy. This is one of those ones that you can put the bit in and then do the screw. However, I would, as somebody who has used these for many, many, many years, I also don't really know what the point of these lines are. Like, I guess you can use them to gauge, like, how far the screw is in. But, like, even all the way out, there's no line. Yeah. The other thing I would say is you can only have a screw that is the length. Do you see how hard it is for me to get these fucking out of here? I'm struggling now. Just wait till I have to get to the insert bits, the 1-inch insert bits. So this flips up and flips down. Technically, you can move them. You can see. I can tell you, though, that is a bitch. Like, this one has no bits in right now. Like, that's not going fucking nowhere. Like, you get pliers out and rip them out. So what I was trying to do is get a Phillips 2 out of here. Ugh. And so this is what are these, like 2 3/4 inch? Look. So the only thing that this driver is really good for, let's see what that exposed. I bet you it's 1.5 inches. If that. Yep, look at that. So that's 1.5 inches. Was nail on. What that means is that realistically you're looking at 1.5 inch screws. If you want this to go all the way flush, because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put the bit, like an insert bit. It's great. Oh my god. Okay, here's the annoying part with these. This whole row has to lift up, not just the bit like here. Right? And then you gotta fucking pull it out. And the amount of force required, like if I have a pliers out or another tool out, I don't use my finger. I just would grab this and like pry it up. For example, you have this in there, right? So that means you already lose that much length to get past that, right? So that means the amount of screw, like the length of screw that you're putting on with this, I believe this is considered a 2-inch by the 3-inch. It's considerably longer, but you can actually put in decent length screws. Unless you're putting in really short screws, and I would argue you don't need one of these if you're putting in short screws, right? Yeah, you don't need one of these if you're putting in short screws, right? Get the longer one. Longer one is way more useful. Milwaukee makes it. A bunch of other brands make it. This is an impact rated one here, so I don't really have it in here as a I think in here there was one of these between the 2 kits, because there were 2 of these effectively, and then I split up. If you notice, there's hex here and a couple Torx, a couple Phillips, and you're like, this thing looks really sparse. Yeah, it was a Black Friday deal, and this kit here has more than 2 of those kits would have. And it's, I would argue, a more compact thing with better bits and stuff on it. That's why I was not to, this set's actually going to go to my mom, because she only has the non-impact duty DeWalt's, which is fine for her screwdriver. But if she ever does go to grab, you know, we got that the new subcompact impact out there, or I got my Snap-on impacts, or, you know, the older first-gen Fuel M12 impact driver, you really should be using impact bits, otherwise you're going to burn through them. Now, if you have a whole, like a whack ton of Phillips 2s or T25s that you got for dirt cheap, maybe include in one of these sets, and you don't care about burning through them, sure, use a non-impact bit. You're just gonna wear that bit out stupid fast, basically. But yeah, I would argue that this 2-inch length is useless. That's not what this video is about, though. I mostly keep it there, though, because if you need to use an insert bit, you need a extension, and that is an extension. And they only gave us, you know, standard short extension like this, which is technically I think this is a 2 3/4, and there's like a 3 or 3.5, I think, and then this is a 2-inch extension. So in order to make 2 complete kits out of this that people could use, because we shared, like with having 2 cases, see how it says set number 2. No, not anymore. It ended up with me. Yeah, if you notice, like I only have 2 Phillips 2s in here for reference. Phillips 2. So put that in there, and you have to flip this whole shit over. For those wondering, oh, why can't you leave it up? Oh, yeah, we'll close. Here, I'll put this away. Having this to lever makes life way better. Oh, I was going to say you can't close it. Did I manage to hit? Okay. I managed to just clip in this small gap. Most of the time, though, you cannot leave these up. The reason why this one is up is because it's empty, because it's for these long bits. And if you notice, there's a row. Like, so this is like pointless, basically. Because if I lift this up, right, and I take out a long bit, and I put a long bit in here. Watch this. Nope. I think you might be able to stick some short bits in there as well. Oh, yeah, that looks actually like a short bit one. See? Shorter. So you can put some more short bits in there. I'm sure I just had to steal them out of this one, or the ones stolen from the other one go in this one. You know, but if it looks sparse, you're like, wow, compared to this, like this is considerably heavier. This is a bigger case, and it's just super annoying to have to flip that whole thing up and pry that out. I will admit, though, see, it's just, you're fighting the thing the whole friggin' time. I will admit, though, that I've never had bits fall out of one of these. You know, also the latch on the side is kind of shit. Like, it only opens up a little bit, and then you kind of still gotta like rip it open. But yeah, the Black Friday bit sets, at least the Milwaukee ones, always seem to be, yeah, you get the case, but they're pretty sparse on bits. And I want to say one of these kits, because it was 2 bit sets, one of the kits was like Allen and Torx, like up here, right? And the other set was a lot of these longer bits on one side and Phillips and flats and stuff like that. Because I needed 2 viable sets out of it for 2 different techs, I kind of mixed and matched them, you know. But so as like nice as these are, because they don't fall out, having to like rotate this and then get that shit out is, you know, bad design. That's why they switched from this. Like, there's nothing loose in it, but that's why I switched from this to this one, which is very, very much more similar to the DeWalt style. See, you just lift it towards you, put it in there, put it down. Here, oh, you put the button in there, and you go like that. They have the same rotatey thing here on the side where you could rotate it up. I don't know if you see that. Like it's like flat and then flat, vertical, up and down. I don't see you using that, though, because this whole row is never going to rotate. Any singular bit is going to rotate on its own. You can see it's kind of spongy, though. I need to zoom in again. You can see it's kind of spongy on all of these. Also, you can see the fitment. You see how all of these, and this is how it came set up, with all these tall power bits back here. But because they're so wedged, do you see how that one's in the pinching? Because they didn't leave enough room. Right, so you actually can't get that all the way down because all of these end to end is too wide for this to sit in there properly. You know, that one sits in there properly. Now that one can't. You know, it's like, then you have stuff like this where it's super loose. You might have seen when I first opened these up, like they're barely hanging there. I've even moved this over one, and it's much tighter in that slot. So I don't know what defines, or like, there's also certain ones like this one here is a deeper hole that it can go in. It seems all over the place, and it seems like these would be removable, but a lot of them, if you wanted to use, like, these are removable only, I think, in the sense that Milwaukee can set them up different out of the box. I'm sure you could pry them out of there if you really intended on it. Oh, here's another thing. They put these nut drivers up here, and you can see they're barely holding on. Barely holding on. So as much as I prefer this, because this is very similar to the DeWalt sets you'll see in a second here, I don't know if they use softer plastic on the Milwaukee, or the spacing isn't right, or because it seems loose. Look at that's in no way correct. That's got to be in no way correct. So here's the other thing I've had with the Milwaukee. If you take this and you just go like you would, or like if you saw me rustling around in my bag, you know, all of these and even these tall ones here where that plastic deformed are starting to come out. And you're saying, oh, I would never do that. You set your bag, like, that wasn't even that hard. You set your tool bag down hard once, and look at that. That doesn't retain that. Now, like I said, this one's going to stay at home. I am not too concerned personally about this. I think it's an improvement because you can actually get the stuff out reasonably without having to pry it with another frickin' tool. And I've heard on actual, like, other people who work in the industry or woodworkers or whatever, like, they've often said they take another bit or the extension they're going to use, and they would use it to pry out the Milwaukee, right? So that's yeah, because it required so much force to rotate that up, because you're rotating the whole row rather than just one little bit. These singular bits seem to be retained just fine. I would argue that it's still a bit squishy than I would like, at least from my experience. You know, I do like that they have this where it can fit a 6-inch extension, because even my DeWalt ones that I use regularly can't do that, which has caused me issues, especially with drill bits. This is too short for a drill bit. Yeah, you can see on here, these are starting to get loose. And there's no way to make them tighter because that plastic down there is mashed. So, yeah, let me know. Like, when they say this is Packout compatible, maybe some of you know in what way. Here, I'll even just close this hard. Reopen it. Look. Yeah. So, like, these clips are not strong enough to hold, like, some of these start getting loose, but I didn't think that I dropped it from this far too. Sometimes you'll just take this, and I've done it with my DeWalt's before, chuck it from like waist height on the ground. You're like, oh, I got my bit out, pop, right? And this Milwaukee would have taken it, right? This newer one, they did make it easier for you to get the bits out, which was a huge complaint, because before you might have taken, you know, grabbed your extension and use this to like pry it up. Imagine this didn't already have a bit in it, but you use that to pry it up because it was so hard to get the bit out. So that's been fixed. But then you have these other issues, you know, and they sit very nicely like that, which means like if you have a bit that you're using, you're just swapping back and forth, you don't have to push them down. But look, you push that down a little too hard and out it fucking shoots. So, it's an improvement, but also a downgrade in smaller ways. So my only guess with this is that if you get the maybe not the full slim, but like one of the ones that holds has like little bins, sorters, maybe take one of those out and you put this in instead. Otherwise, if you guys know where in the Packout or what piece this would go into or replace, You know, let me know in the description down there also what you think about these, because I think if you got a full one, yeah, see, they're already just hanging. They're hanging out already, and these guys are always ass hanging out. I think if you had one with all small bits, it'd be great. Or even these ones down here aren't too bad. Though you saw them getting looser, and I could tell you tradespeople are rougher on this stuff than I am, for sure. I will also say that the plastic on this got cheaper, got thinner, compared to this. Like, this thing's like much thicker plastic. But way worse use of space. There's way more space between the bits that's unneeded. Like I said, often I would have used this or one of these to flip this up. Then you need this extension. You got to pry that out. Then I'd often use this to flip that up, pull it out, because it's just. Now, I've had plenty of other brands of cases before. This one is just like this because I was carrying it for, for work, and it ended up coming home with me when I left the job, and I noticed 2 weeks after that they hadn't asked for it back and was still sitting there. So this one is staying with me. This is the one that came with the subcompact bits. Gonna give this to my mom, who has like one of these DeWalt sets like this. But the DeWalt, generally speaking, the DeWalt sets are not impact rated. They did have that as an option, but the ones you see on sale for like Black Friday and the like are not. So one thing I can show you is this is how I have mine set up. And if you're noticing, the ones that are falling out are not the DeWalt bits or the Craftsman bits or any of that. It's the Milwaukee ones. And these are the newer Milwaukee ones with the silver top, right? Because that's the ones you just saw. The ones that are falling out are actually the older Milwaukee ones that don't have, and if you're like, what's the difference between the silver top and the bottom? Basically, this is a combination of matrix carbide, maybe not as hard as the matrix carbide, and then your standard impact. So it's impacting down here where it needs to be a little bit softer, actually, and then it's harder on the tip where you're actually putting it in, like that's where the wear from using the screw is going to be, right? So these are staying in fine. These are not. So there must be a slightly different taper. I think I can already see it between the older Milwaukee bits. Like, this is a more sharper taper on the newer ones. So those can get a little loose. Not the fault of the DeWalt guy here, because all of these, here's Irwin ones that are living in there fine as well. Here's new Milwaukee ones up here that were living in there fine. It's these older, but until I wear these out, I'm not going to. Which reminds me, I have lost. This is an old Craftsman set at USA made, and one of them is worn out. That's why it's been replaced with a Milwaukee, and then the other one actually got lost, and I was so very bummed. That's a 5mm and a 4mm. Probably the two most common ones I use. So yeah, I was bummed there, but yeah, this is my personal made set of bits. You could possibly fit one more row of bits in here, but I use it to store a little extension. This is the only, I think this is a 2-inch, not even a 2.5-inch. This is a true 2-inch. Yep, 2-inch. Impact rated extension. Hilti is the one that makes them. You can see a little ring in there. That shows that it is rated for impact, because what it actually grabs onto, if we grab an impact rated bit here, here, this Irwin will do. I really like these Irwin ones. They don't make them anymore. Actually, I really prefer the even older Irwin ones that are these like forged, shiny ones with the paint. Then they went to the impact rated ones, which are these black ones. Not as nice. This is what Fleet Farm used to carry. Now they just carry your standard Milwaukee and DeWalt stuff. This guy, if you see there's little notches in there, you see it might actually be a little bit worn. See that? That is what the ring on there actually snaps into. So there is a magnet in there to magnet things. Okay. I'll prove that. See? But what makes it so the bit stays in while you're, you know, and it doesn't pull out, is that sort of snap ring that is in there. As far as I know, Hilti is the only one that makes a 2-inch impact rated one. And you're like, well, why do you need an impact rated one for these? Well, often I will grab just this and this one here, grab an impact driver, grab a screwdriver, grab whatever. The other thing you can do is I have this little Stanley wrench, which you can get them from all different kinds of places. Stanley does have a very nice bit set that you can actually buy at Walmart that includes this little wrench and even has stuff like this Pause Drive 2, PZ2 in there. Possibly even that Pause Drive 3. So it's actually like a specialty set that comes with this little 1/4-inch hex ratcheting wrench that I really liked. The only thing is that the Stanley kit this comes in for some of you at home is probably going to be perfectly fine and standard. But it didn't have enough bits for me. And the way it's made, there's no way to expand it. The other thing would be, for those wondering, you can take like, here, a Phillips one. Normally you'd put it in this way, and you have pretty good clearance. With the skinnier bits, you can also flip them over and put them in backwards, like that. Because it is pass-through. Not all of them can do that. Depends on, like, you can't do like a T30, T40, like that. But for example, the nice thing about, I was already starting to come up, I think, back here, about the DeWalt's is, you're like, I've never seen one of these configured this way. Oh no, you won't. You will not see them with every row being a single bit like this, like a single bit arrangement. I bought a number of them to make this happen. Let me grab that sample one here. So I still got some bits in here because they aren't impact rated. Maybe I'll eventually use them if I need them. But here's this little Stanley kit. It's got a little like belt clip on the back. And the little ratchet wrench goes here, and then you have a couple slotted, a couple not enough hex if you ask me. Robertson is this, normally it'd be square, but they're using R for Robertson. Got some Phillips, got some metric hex, got some standard hex, Pause Drive, quite a few Torx, quite a few even security Torx. So it's a nice little kit, and you can pick this up just in Walmart. You can just walk in there. I've told people to go and buy it before that I've needed it, because you can kind of count on it being there. It's kind of hard to find physically, but it's there. And no, those bits aren't amazing. They're not like impact rated, blah 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 blah, but they'll get the job done. And this little, like I said, I still use this little wrench. So what I ended up doing to make this kit here is I bought multiple of the DeWalt bit sets. That's what you're hearing, the extension rolling around there, not bits that are loose. But I bought multiple of the DeWalt bit sets here, like this. They actually can snap together as well. If you, and I often use these that way. You snap them on that side, and then you pull this latch up, and now they're one thing. Because often I need one or multiple of these. That was what I have as 1/4-inch short hex bits. You might call them insert bits or 1-inch bits. This other guy that I have in black, so it's a different color, is powered bits and adapters, basically. And same thing here. This is actually made from, if you notice, these are all, like this set of them, and that is all the same. This is actually from a much older set that I don't think they make anymore. But what I did is I think I bought 3 sets or however many that got me enough of these rubber inserts here to get all of these singular insert bits in one case that I use. Now, obviously, like you could go to somebody like Vim Tools and they will sell you, if you're doing this professionally, a kit that has all of this in here. Or you can get like an iFixit kit. It would have all of these in there, I would think. Maybe not those ones, which are like for electrical outlets and electrical boxes. But it's going to get you most of what's in here. Those are the iFixit ones are made out of cheap Chinesium. They do have a lifetime warranty. So for some of the rarer stuff, it might be the way to go. Oh, I do have I think this is a Craftsman as well. This is just a 1/4-inch hex to 1/4-inch socket adapter, insert bit style, not a power style adapter. We do have this little guy, which is a double-sided drywall one, I believe. Here's actually like a drywall. I forget what these are specifically called. This says PR2, you know, but those are used in, like for putting, because you sink it slightly below the surface. There are also ones that have like a little collar around that you can use for drywall screws. They're just in here because I had space. Like if some other bit like had to push it out, like some of these came with the hex set from Milwaukee, and they're way larger than the do you hear all that snaps in there? I'm just gonna point that out. Like it's like, because they use like almost like a rubbery plastic from DeWalt here. But yeah, I bought enough DeWalt sets that, like for example, if 2 of these came per case, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think it was more than 2. It might have been 4 or 3 or something, you know. But then on Black Friday, these cases with bits in them, because remember, you're not just buying the cases, were like $10 or maybe $12. Well, if you want a similar sized case to these DeWalt's, Irwin, like this blue guy's here, they will sell you a case. That case for a single one with whatever they've determined as standard inserts are, $10. So I would rather wait for the like holiday season or Father's Day or whatever, and then pick up a thing that has bits in, even if they're not impact rated bits, burn through them. It's free bits, right? And then just buy enough of these that have the ones that you need that'll fit here, right? So I got a Milwaukee Phillips 2 because I burned through. This is Phillips 2 in the US is like the #1 thing that you're going to run into and use. That's why I don't have all these are Irwin bits. You can see why they went to the black phosphate coating is because if you do leave them out, they do get rust on this really nice polished forged finish. If I could still get these, I would though. That's why they're still in here for the less used bits. And I bought them because they were clearing out at Fleet Farm when they were switching out brands. I bought what I could because, you know, like, and they would come 2-packs often. Like you get 2 square ones, 2 square 2s. That was the other nice thing that Fleet Farm always used to have is you'd be able to buy just like a 2-pack of bits or a 5-pack of bits like you can do with Milwaukee, right? And Home Depot kind of has that with Milwaukee, but it's usually on the bigger or the longer bits. Fleet Farm used to have that with the Irwins. Like if you needed square 3, yeah, they'd have a 2-pack of square 3s. You just buy more square 3s. I always felt like it was a waste in that a lot of, and now at Fleet Farm as well, you have to generally buy a kit like this to get bits. Well, what if you only used up all of your Phillips 2s, right? Just like often you might need another socket of, like, say you need a 14 millimeter on both sides of a bolt, right? You might need another socket and you can't use it. Like say you got a deep well and you got a normal well, and you need another one, or it's a common thing. Like around here, I use what is it, 3/16 for standoff screws, I think. And like I need one, and I have one just sitting over there for that. I use a very that red Craftsman screwdriver. I have one of those at each of my workstations around here, because we use that size for everything. I think that's 5/32 for that one. And you could do that stuff with, it used to be with Sears with Craftsman, and then Fleet Farm with their various brands that they had. And that's how you could get these bits, is rather than having to buy like a whole kit of bits, just to get like some more of one kind, you could just, buy yourself, a Phillips 1 or something, right? And I'm sadly running out of these. But what do I use most nowadays? Like you're probably looking back for some of you that know these Irwin bits and are like, bro, that's like 15 years ago. Yep. When I find something I like, I will use it, and I will use it until I can't anymore. And I really like these. So like I said, as they were clearing them, if they had, like, obviously they'll have like square 1 left or something. I do not need 20 packs of square 1. But for the ones that were still in stock, and I've finally run out of the Phillips 2. That's why we're on to the Milwaukee. Because I do think of your bits that you're buying in store, like you can buy in a normal, like your Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, that Milwaukee makes the best bit by far. By far. I think some of these other brands like Irwin have unique bits. Klein has started making bits. I'm trying their, because they have longer ones, like they have the 6-inch ones that have like your Phillips 1, Phillips 2, Phillips 3, whereas Milwaukee would have only made that in a Phillips 2 and a T25, right? They wouldn't have made it in like the Phillips 1 or the Phillips 3, for example, traditionally. So Klein coming in there and doing that and actually making impact rated ones is interesting, because they're trying to compete a bit more. I have those to try them out, because I do not wear through those like I do the insert bits or these shorter power bits, or even the 3-inch power bits. On this side, I have these really cool Irwins, which I will buy again. I need to buy a new set because some of them are getting pretty darn worn. But basically, they have one side, like this is a T30, that's a T25. I think this is T25, T25, because that's like the most common. So that way, if you are using this one and it does strip out, or you feel like you're not getting enough bite, you can just flip it over and use another one. Then we have a T20, T25. I think it's a T20, T15. T20, T15. So you can kind of have 4 power bits in here. And I know it would be a T30, a T25, a T20, and a T15. That'd be 4 bits. But you actually have way more ends on here that are way more useful, because and it's just kind of nice to have. These chuck up, from my experience, very well. I will be sad if I can't get these anymore, because I just like having that. The one that I wish they made, because I use T25 and T15 the most. If they make a double ender of that would be amazing for my uses. But these are getting quite worn. I do need to look for a new set. I think this is my second set of those double-ended guys there. But yeah, I customized this. Now, do make sure you label your stuff as top. Now, with how these DeWalt's are done, I can do this, and as long as I don't open it upside down, we didn't lose anything, right? If you open it upside down, it will dump your shit. Not the stuff that's reinforced or like held in there, but I do have this. You can hold 2 insert bits in here. I would often keep, like when I didn't have a full set like this in there, I would keep like, Phillips 2, Phillips 1, or a T25 and a Phillips 2, stuff like that, or like the weird one-off ones. You know how I said I had fit those. I had fit the drywall bits in there, for putting drywall screws in. I didn't always have room in here or in like what I had actually used previous to this Something very similar, but different. So those drywall bits actually lived right here because they were basically, I never used them. They were there because I had them in case. You never know. Sometimes you're just doing weird projects for places and you need one and you didn't have one. Up here we have some more we have more power bits that are just not the most common ones like these are. Like if I'm going to be using an impact driver, I'm going to be using Torx, Phillips, or Square. You shouldn't be using a flathead. I do have one that is like what I would call a power bit in there, and I have used it. See, you want to see something that makes no fucking sense right there? Those are the notches that would be for I showed you for that snap ring for a like the snap ring that goes around for an impact bit. Why are they right there? Makes no bloody sense. Now this thing, and this one can't even go on here, I don't think. Hold on. Yeah. So there you go. So you have this magnet thing that snaps on. Doesn't even get to that. So like I said, I don't know what's up there. These can be helpful. These can be helpful for putting in screws. Because this magnet will hold the screw as you're kind of getting it started. I would say this is way more helpful than one of these, personally, as long as you're using magnetic screws. This one is quite a bit longer than that Milwaukee one I showed you. It is, however, not the long one. Milwaukee makes like a properly, like it's a 3 or 3.5 inch, like, because they go off of this sleeve length. But this one, Milwaukee previously did not have impact rated ones of these. This DeWalt one, I believe, was the first one I knew of that was impact rated and actually came out of one of these sets. I specifically spent a little bit more to get one that had that extension in there, because you can get that extension separately, but it's like, I don't know, like $10, $12 or something. And if you can just buy a kit that's $10, $12, $15, maybe you spend $15 or even $20 on there, but you get a $10 case plus a single adapter, and they want to sell you for, $10, $12. There you go. You got to be kind of smart about what you're getting. So we have the flathead over there. Then we got this guy, which it looks very similar to the Hilti one. This is actually what made me hunt down the Hilti one. This is actually the Craftsman one that came with this set. So it still lives in here. Now this is not an impact rated one, but this was the first extension that I knew of that is only a 2-inch, and often you need to use the insert bits, but you want to keep it as short as you possibly can, right? So using this plus an insert bit keeps it pretty much as close as you can to those power bits. Then we have a different, this is an older DeWalt style, that's the newer one. Still not impact rated. They should have an impact rated of that size. It's called Max Fit, I believe that's what these cases are. But this is an impact ready SL8. I think this is an SL10. SL6. And this is like the older DeWalt impact ready line, where all their stock bar stock was just hex bar stock, and they put a different bit, like ground a different bit on the end there. It's been found that if you notice all of these, especially the Milwaukee, like they slim down here, and that actually helps with actually reducing the amount of you want torque on the bit, but like the amount of wear on the bit head, as well as the driver and you too. You can look at some of the stuff there, but they actually found that not just having straight bar stock actually is better. You could think like, oh, well, why wouldn't you want more metal there? Especially once they get into these ones that have differing hardnesses. Slimming it down apparently helps. Same reason that if you look at this DeWalt extension, it's like a torque zone, they call it, or something like that. I called bullshit early on, but they're having to mill away that material. So, like, they wouldn't do it if they didn't need to, or don't think it's a good idea. The one thing, there's like these Makita gold bits. They do a weird thing where they're double-ended, kind of like this, except in the middle, it is slimmed down, skinnier than that DeWalt. And I have had those bend. Now, that could be a metallurgy thing, like as in they're using worse metal than, say, these Irwins, Milwaukee's, DeWalt's, etc. Or they just make it too skinny too quick or something. And I do have in here a dedicated T25. Because often this is, like I said, one of the most used bits, and I can put this little guy on there, and if we're doing a lot of T25s, which is like the most common if you're using like deck screws or wood screws, this thing will zip through them with that little magnet on there, hold that bit on, and you just toss it on, toss it on, toss it on. Super handy to be in the old kit. And I just kind of keep those ones up there because they're a little bit yet less used. If I'm just putting in like a couple screws, I'd rather use these, easier, quicker to grab. But if we're like I built shelves, sometimes then too you might need multiple, because we had 3-inch going to a 2x4 to reinforce the shelf, right? But then the actual top of the shelf onto the 2x4 was only a 1.5 inch screw that used the T15, right? So you need 2 different drivers set up, basically, if you want to do that effectively and quickly. This guy is the similar thing for the Irwins here, the impact Irwins, not these older ones. You just pop that on there, and it holds the screw with the magnet. This one's been worn considerably, so it goes farther than it's supposed to. And I just have these magneted on top of these 1/4-inch hex to 1/2 inch. And these are old Milwaukee ones, I think. Otherwise, based on the shape, they might be DeWalt's that were in some of these kits. All of them, you can tell by the wear on there, they've been used. Less and less lately, because I do have proper impact drivers now. Actually, not a 1/2 inch, but I have a 3/8, like this guy. And this one's, like I said, it's been properly used. Nowadays, there are ones off of Amazon that are like stubby, or they have wobble, like your wobble socket or wobble extension would be. Those are probably the route that I would go. The stubby would be real nice because they take off this whole thing, or like this in between here, and they get them as close to the tool that you can. Having a nice compact tool with that being closer is actually quite useful. But these are where you can get into a mess is if you try to put these on either too powerful tools or you go at them way too hard. Always keep that in mind when you're adapting sockets, and like you're going from 1/2 inch, 3/8 down to 1/4 inch, etc. Do it within reason, otherwise you'll break your adapter, basically. And if you break your adapter, just buy a new one. They're not that expensive. I want to say they're like Titan off of Amazon. I might be incorrect. I might have showed them in previous videos as well. But that's if I didn't have these and they were already in the kit, I'd probably put those other ones in the kit. Now, would I put, like, the question there is, like, would I put the stubbies or the wobbles in here? It's a great question. I don't know. For now, these stay in here until something breaks, and I doubt they will, because they're just, impact rated adapters. I want to say these go all the way back to my original M12, or even possibly like my impact driver that was a brain box that was a Craftsman NiCad. So they're decently old. Like I said, I tend to not overcook them. So you might have seen this DeWalt extension. I've seen it recommended a whole bunch. You probably haven't seen this DeWalt extension. I highly recommend this specific one. There's actually an arrow that says down, and you're probably wondering what that is for. Let's grab a Phillips 1 insert bit. You put that in here, and it actually locks in. The bit locks in, right? And then if you don't lock this back, that works like a normal extension now, right? If you want to get the bit out, you actually pull this back here, and it shoots the bit out for you. So it's spring-loaded. That's why a lot of people like these for, because they're very quick change bit, like when they're just in this form, fairly skinny too, see? And then when you get the thing out, it just shoots out. There's like a spring-loaded mechanism there. This is the one you actually want, and finding it is not easy. So that's why I show this arrow back, is because you pull it back, you can get the bit in, right? Insert bits in. Well, much like these adapters from, like the DeWalt Max Fit Specific and Irwin Impact whatever specific, if you push it forward, it doesn't come off, but that is enough to get a screw on there, and then this magnet will hold it as you screw it in, right? And the nice thing about this is it's not, like restricted to these power bits. If you want to, that was a Phillips 2. If you want a pause drive 2, you put a pause drive 2 in it. If you want a, here, we'll do a T10. There you go, look at that. Yeah, expose that for putting, like that sort of stuff. If you want to inject it, you can inject it. This is, I use this extension all the freaking time. Super nice extension. Like I said, this one isn't bad. I've seen a lot of people recommend it, but in my opinion, because you can just slip this collar off, there's just a snap ring in there. You actually want this one, because you can get that bit in there, and then it holds it for you with the magnet. This is one I've bought separately. So highly recommended one there. Another one that this other one actually came from a kit as well that I bought a kit for, was one of these that had inserts in them. And I have a couple of them because, remember, I bought like 3 or 4 kits at least. This is an impact-rated wobble. Angled. So you can kind of, if you need to put a screw in over here, you can get a little bit. And you can hold this so it spins, right? So you can hold that in place with this hand and go brrr, and it can go because this one, if you look, it has that locking ring in there. And it can, like, it's impact rated. Okay, you can also see generally impact rated also has this black phosphate, if you notice. Not impact rated. I felt like these are often more precise though. And then these are impact rated ones from the next lineup, or next newer line. This is impact rated. Why did I want to go to an impact rated one? Well, bit retention is way better. And I actually broke a number of these because the weak point is literally the wobble. Like where that I don't want to call it a collar, but like that stem that goes in there to do this sort of angled wobble, right? That's where the weak point is. And yeah, I broke a couple of these. Now, when you buy these kits to get these cases and get these like inserts for them, often these, maybe not the impact version of this, but the non-impact one is pretty commonly in there along with one of these, like a non-impact one that's shorter one I showed you from Milwaukee. So don't feel too bad breaking those, especially if you're buying to get the case, because you'll probably have a bin of these. I have a whole little plastic tin of these, but I think this one and only one other one are actually impact rated. Also, when you unlock it like this, you can use it like this as just a normal impact rated extension adapter, right? So say you got this set over here, and you need one for driving screws and one for loosening screws. Well, we've got 2, and we've got 2 different types. We got 3 actually if you include this. So often I will set up, and if you're trying to, like be actually like quick about something, you're gonna have probably a drill set up with, or drill or multiple if you're doing like a pilot hole, and you're gonna probably have a screwdriver possibly and an impact driver, or 2 impact drivers for 2 different bits. So that's where I have multiple different things. Now these are all better or worse at certain things, but they can also stand in, like if you need 2 of them, but only one you really need to do the magnetic holding on it, well, you've got this other guy that you can use, or you've got this other guy you can use. So this one's kind of like my I always have this guy, It's got the short extension in there if I need more, or if I'm going to do a lot of times this will go with my screwdriver. Like I have my what would have been the Milwaukee, but nowadays is the snap-on screwdriver if we're talking about the brushed or the brushless. But then if we're getting the impact, often this is coming with it. And I showed you how they snap together, you know, via this latch right there. I've used these for quite some time. You know, for example, this guy may look similar. You're like, that's basically the same thing, except it doesn't have a clear top. Yeah, the clear top's quite nice. And it is, except the it's not that snap that can lock in. It is that little slide in there. For now, I have used this for my step bits. Come here, Paisley. It's 4 o'clock. I wanted to get to the knives, Paisley Mary. But I've repurposed this because this used to be one that I was using instead of one of these, right? But I don't know if you can tell, it is a bit thinner. So I needed a place to put my step bits, and so I chose here because I can fit them like these on this side because they're hex, like they're impact rated ones. Actually, I think this is the only impact rated one, but they're at least 1/4 inch hex, so they'll snap into this, and they're thin enough. I think they do make more of these now. This was originally the only one that was in the impact rated 1/4 inch hex. These are just from Harbor Freight. Reading up on the step bits, what you want more than anything is you want a dual fluted design, and then what matters more than anything, like not Milwaukee or Irwin. I used to have the Irwin Unibit. Ran that thing into the ground. Finally threw it out, and then replaced them with these once I did my research. And these are cobalt. So you're better off paying, like this one's Hercules. I don't remember what these other ones are, the previous ones. I think these are the ones you'll be finding now because they don't make like the non-hex and the non-impact but hex. They're just going to make, like, they've replaced or updated the line. And these are the high-speed steel cobalt. So you want the double fluted because it's going to cut literally twice as fast. And the previous Unibit, it cut very clean, but these go quite a bit faster. And then the harder, depending on what you're drilling. Now the cobalt obviously is going to be much more expensive. But reading up and seeing people testing on it, you are better spending on a higher end bit from a cheaper brand. Still a known good brand. This is still Harbor Freight. And there weren't bad reviews on these or anything. Chinesium is different. Like if you buy it direct from China, people have shown like those aren't even sharp out of the box, or after one cut they'll go bad. Yes, these are probably also made in China, but like we're talking Temu, AliExpress, etc. Buy from a brand, but rather than getting like a black oxide Milwaukee step bit, this seemed to be a better to me. Or rather than buying, like Irwin does make cobalt ones, but you're going to spend on one Irwin bit. Like this was a triple set, I believe, and this was a double set, and this was by itself. You're going to spend like one of the sets I paid for one Irwin bit or one Milwaukee bit. And just having the higher grade steel, and then, like I said, the dual flutes is a huge thing, a huge improvement. At least based on my research, that's going to get you farther than buying those name brands. Is just going to the higher grade steel. Whether if you were going to do black oxide and then you go to the titanium nitride, or if you're going to do titanium nitride and you're going to the cobalt, etc. But yeah, I used an old one of these with one of these older style inserts. These are not as nice because it literally, here, I don't know if I can show this on camera. It literally parts see, it like bends the rubber. Same thing, and when you put them back in, you can't like put them in and bend it back. You gotta like slide them up and through, which is mildly annoying, right? But for something like this that I don't use comparatively all that often, perfectly fine. And yeah, you gotta be a little bit careful with it, but they at least have a home. It is not yet labeled, but really should be. If we keep going back, remember how I said DeWalt had impact ready. And if you're running that older power bit style, which is like down here, right? That older one that only held 5, whereas this is 1, 2, 3, 7 now, right? That would fit in this brand new case because DeWalt kept it all forward and backwards compatible. Where does all this start out? Well, here's an even older DeWalt one, impact ready. And I think I have one that's even older than this one that is not impact ready. And there you go. See, I might have had this setup design in the past. The only difference is on this guy, right? These are like these are the kind that sit upright. Put a 2x on there so they stand upright and you flip them down, right? If we go here, they just kind of like slide in from the top like that, kind of like the other one that I showed you at the bottom of this one here. And you would still pull it up to get it out, but you can't take this and force it in. That you're gonna wreck those, smush those, etc. So you can see though that I now this I threw an extra one in here because I had it and I wanted just to fit in the case. That would never fly because you can't get them in there, right? But I did have this set up with 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and you can see the improvement when they went horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Theoretically, if I didn't want some of this other storage room and didn't have some of these weird guys down here, I might actually be able to fit one more row in here if I really needed to, and maybe one day I will. But so I have been using the DeWalt ones for quite some time because, and like I said, I think they're like, this is back when Milwaukee was just throwing it into they weren't even in these. They were just like, here, have it, and you kind of get like it's like a sack to put it in, or like some sort of like non-arrangeable, like bits have to go in one place, and it's like, well, what if I want to put a different bit in there? And it's like, too bad, right? So I've been using the DeWalt ones for a very long time. The other ones that are compelling to me, let me know if you guys have any, are the Irwin ones. But if I can get a set of DeWalt bits with a case for the same price, or maybe a hair more than the Irwin ones, why would I ever do that? I literally buy the DeWalt for the case, and I told you, if you look at a lot of my bits, I have a lot of Milwaukee, I have a lot of Irwin. I'm not even necessarily using the DeWalt bits, or I've already used them up because a lot of their newer stuff, like with their Max Fit, isn't impact rated. So if you do use that in an impact, or even just like building a PC, you're using a lot of Phillips 2, Phillips 2, Phillips 2, Phillips 2, Phillips 2. Once you start seeing wear on that bit, change it out, get another bit. Phillips 2, Phillips 2, Phillips 2, Phillips 2. Yeah, but I do, I like DeWalt for certain tools. This little 9-foot tape measure is great for like little shipping things and just stuff around like around on these little workbenches and stuff like that. Seriously, it's a balance. But yeah, let me know if you guys have the Irwin kits with the Irwin bit sets. Like these, but in Irwin. Let me know. I'd be interested. I just never ended up buying them because once I saw what these were selling for on Black Friday, I was like, why spend the money? Like, why spend $10+ on an Irwin box that's just box and actually doesn't even have enough inserts for what I need, and not get bits with it. Here I have a whole bunch of these. This is the newer ones that are the tilt ones. Here's the older ones that you can kind of peel out, but you have to stick it in the top, and you can see it. Those are used. So I however many kits I bought, even if it was 50, that's $50. Like, and I have a third one of these that I didn't grab because it's set up similar to this one. But I still have extras. Like I said, this with these sort of that's exactly the same. right? Now that you're like, oh, that one's deeper. Yeah, it goes further than the thing. What they found is they were better off with how these latch up, that they want to bring this up higher. Whereas you saw with the Milwaukee, they're not compatible with each other. Look at that size difference. So, thoughts, questions, comments, throw them down below. What is your preferred bit set? What brand makes it? Do you buy it? Like I said, I buy the DeWalt's, not for the bits, but for the case. You know, and then think about it. You buy 5 cases. That's quite a bit of bits. You're gonna be good for a hot minute there. So, Gertrude fell asleep, not on the cat bed, obviously, while we were doing this, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Questions, comments, throw them down below. What's your favorite case? What's your favorite bit? Are you a Milwaukee guy for bits like I am? Do you like, I get these really, really weird skinny ones here just off of Amazon, direct from Taiwan. These are like, they're not the Olsa Tools. I think Olsa Tools is Canadian. I was gonna say Olfa. That's not right. I can't remember. But there's like a brand that sells all kinds of shit on Amazon that makes these, and they're just super generic. Yep, they're S2 tool still, so they're perfectly fine. I've actually found with standard drill bits, like not those step bit ones, but you can get Cobalt ones, like packs of 5 or 10 or whatever of a specific size that you commonly use, or if you broke some or wore some out, get those off of Amazon. Those are gonna be way cheaper, especially if you only get the sizes you end up using out of your kit. And get like 5 of them if you know you're gonna wear them out, rather than buying a whole nother kit of bits in a lower grade. So there are certain things that I kind of balance that way. But this one is actually, I would argue that this, what is it? It's the 45-piece Packout compatible. Let me know how. Like, in what way is it Packout compatible? I'm not seeing it, but I'm not an everyday Packout user. That's actually a really complete set. Like, if you guys need a first-time set for an impact driver, I would argue that this one's pretty good. Definitely better than this set that I got off of Black Friday, that's for sure. And hopefully we'll see you in future videos. You know, coming up next is hopefully that James knife. We went way over on this one, and I gotta put shit away now. Ugh. Peace.